First resolution is 2024-46. Thank you, guys. Authorizing and providing the issuance of sale of 11,580,500 as bond anticipation notes for the Borough of Bradley Beach in the County of Monmouth, State of New Jersey, to the Monmouth County Improvement Authority, and determining various matters in connection wherein. I will make a motion to.
Mr. Mayor, discussion.
Yeah.
I'm confused. You did send us a schedule. I had asked for supporting that number, but you had a different number, 9,780,000. I'm not sure I understood the data. That was all.
Yeah, so the 11,580 would be the, I call, when we went out and looked at the bond anticipation notes. We've been able to refine that down. This would be the high end if we went out and felt as though we needed it, but I think we're going to end up with a lesser number that we have to actually go out and get the notes. I think it's in March. So it's been really refinement between Meghan Bennett, the bond attorney, our CFO, and Meredith, the acting borough administrator.
I'm sorry, though. No, I'm really not trying to be difficult. The original question was why this specific amount, 11,580,000.
That was the start point, probably 3 or 4 weeks ago, and they've been able to take that down to a lesser number. It won't exceed this number of 11,580, and I can be clear about that.
But the new number that you provided to us just a day or so ago was 9,780,000.
9.8. Yeah.
So almost $2 million less. So I guess the obvious question is, should we? And I did have a question about even that detail. There were a number of adjustments down. Is that because I assumed because we're sharing some of that bonding with Avon?
No, that's not. We're just
almost like 3.5 million, but we were dropping 1.5 million.
Yeah.
What's happening there, for example?
I think it's a timing issue that we're not going to need as much initially for 2024. We would go into 2025.
And these smaller ones appear similar issue timing.
Yeah, it's just timing. So the recommendation, and I checked this today with the CFO, the recommendation was that this was the high end. We believe we can commit at this 9.780 number, but the recommendation was to stay with the resolution as is, and shoot for this lower number of about, let's call it $10 million, $9.8 million.
Can you help us or help me understand the process? If we were to approve a number almost $2 million higher, how do we make sure we don't actually bond for that? Like, how does that process work? Do we ask for bids up to 11 million, but then we only take what we need?
I think what the bond counsel and the CFO would do is as they're procuring numbers, they report back to us. If you want us to report back on what the final number is, that's not a problem at all, because he's got a pretty good handle on it with the bond attorney and with the borough administrator.
Well, no, it's not reporting back on, what the final number is. It's understanding the final number before we approve it. I'm just looking at the resolution language itself, which I want to get to the therefore. The chief financial officer is hereby authorized to cause all or a portion of its bond anticipation notes to be issued and sold.
Mm-hmm.
I'm reading this not only for my benefit, but for anyone in the public who might be interested. The borough hereby authorizes the use of certain information concerning, a portion of the proceeds of the sale of program notes to the MCIA may be retained by the MCIA as payment for the borough's allocable share of issuance expenses and expenses related to the county guarantee.
Yeah, we're going through the Monmouth County group, and that got us a favorable rate.
What is the rate?
I don't have the rate in front of me. And unfortunately, Meredith and the CFO and Megan worked through this. So I don't know what the final rate came in at.
Mr. Mayor, what's the urgency of this? Like, can we table this until the next meeting to get a better understanding?
I think there's some urgency that they want to get this in with the county. I mean, we can clarify these questions. Meredith will be in tomorrow and can clarify those questions. I mean, we can condition, I mean, if you want to meet with her, or her and Ricky together, that would be fine. Unfortunately, I thought Meredith would be here to represent this today, but her flight's got a little screwy.
I guess section 1 gives the flexibility I'm looking for, but in terms of what we would approve, it's saying the chief financial officer is hereby authorized to cause all or a portion of its bond anticipation notes to be issued. I appreciate that flexibility. What I'm concerned about is controlling that flexibility, that if the most recent estimate you have is 9.8 million, and we're authorizing 11.6, that extra 1.8 million just concerns me because I don't know what back end control the council would have over the additional borrowing of that funding.
I would suggest that what they're working through is trying to get to the lower rate, lower number. This was what the start point was. If you're looking for the delta of those two, the 11.8 versus the 9.8 versus the 11.6, a flag that says if we go over that, the number, that 9.8, I don't think that's a problem at all. But I think that can be very proactively communicated. But the intent is not to hopefully not have any issues where we have to go up.
Well, we certainly, I mean, I'll speak again for myself. I certainly don't want to impede the borough in terms of borrowing money that we need. But I can't see granting kind of blind authorization of 1.8 million that we don't have any explanation for, why that number might be needed. So can we alter this to, at least I would ask, can we alter this to approve the 9.8 million? And then if another 1.8 million is needed at a later date, Mr. Mayor, can we come back and expand this at that time?
All I can tell you is that the recommendation by the CFO today was leave the resolution as is, and we're going to try to manage this. If we go with a lower number, the 9.8, I don't know if that's creating some kind of constraint for the bond attorney and the CFO. Again, I think they can explain that. It's unfortunate that we just have an absence tonight that would be able to explain that because Meredith worked at a detail level with these guys.
Mr. Mayor, isn't it right to say that there's no new borrowing in this? This is all like restructuring, kind of refinancing of existing debt.
No, there
is new borrowing.
Yes, there is.
And it's detailed for us, John, that number we've been talking about, 9.8. It's what this is allocating for.
So can we just change the number at the top of this to 9.8 million?
I just said, he recommended we did.
I don't think you can do that because I think it's run through the MCIA for pre-approval. I don't think you can just change the number because the MCIA, like if it's here, that means the MCIA said, okay.
So it may tie into the MCI that
They're
we started working with them in the fourth quarter.
Mr. Cannon, if we authorize borrowing of this money that says all or some, right? It's not, the wording is not.
It's an authorization.
It's an authorization. But how do we, the council, stop an extra $2 million of borrowing that we've authorized if we don't, right now, we don't know what that extra 1.8 million might be. And you're asking, not you, but we're being asked to authorize this borrowing, not knowing what the money might be for. I mean, how does that work in reality? Do we have any?
Well, I mean, it's an authorization, so when it comes up to be spent, there's a certification of funds that says it's available in a line item where this authorization goes. And then they borrow the money. So technical answer to your question, I'm not sure it's a very practical one, is that you have to review the spending every time it's done. So you just don't spend the money when it comes up.
Why is there extra money? Is it for emergencies or what?
I'm just telling you.
We started this in the fourth quarter.
CFO question.
What's happened since the fourth quarter? First, you went out and Meghan Bennett got us a favorable rate with the Monmouth County group. what's happened since then is they've been working to try to refine what we'd actually go out and spend. So to the attorney's point, it very well could be a pre-authorization amount that's what we've committed to, but that doesn't mean that's what we have to necessarily borrow or incur debt on. And I think that's probably why the CFO said, we really need to stick to that number, but we have a high probability of bill coming in at the $9.8 million. So I think this is not a high risk approval.
Well, no, the underlying documents for this that the CFO obviously has, because the one's got, he, I believe at this point, right? He's the one who got the approval through the MCIA. So I mean, it's in there. The reason I say I'll be change it is because this is it's pooled, right? MCIA is a pooled. It's a pooled funding. It's a funding pool, I guess is the way to put it. So they have it all allocated, they go out for a certain amount and they approve all that, so I'm not sure you can just change it. And send it into them, and that's gonna be okay.
Mr. Cannon, let me ask you in simple resident terms. Is this someone like I would call it a HELOC where you're authorizing your ability to borrow up to this amount, but you said we can control it by managing the spend associated with this. If I don't need that money, that I get approval for my HELOC from the bank, home equity loan. I'm getting approved by the bank. In this case, we're doing the approving, but I get approved by the bank for $500,000 on home equity. I only spent 380, or am I getting the loan for the full 500? Do you know what?
Like, if you mean,
Are we paying
Yeah.
interest, are we paying interest
Yes.
on 11 million?
you shouldn't be until you spend,
No.
Until you spend it. So if you don't spend it, you're not paying interest on it.
you should not be, no.
Bond counsel's fees though are based on the dollar amount of the borrowing
Yeah, but
typically.
But the
I feel
bond,
like they're based on the notes, so I'm not entirely sure of the mechanisms in that regard. I mean, if these are really, on God's honest truth, these are really CFO questions. Or the administrator who did all the work with the CFO. Like
And
those
if-
kind
and
of
if we-
details just aren't gonna be.
And if we don't approve this, then we jeopardize our ability to borrow, period.
Yep.
I'm feeling a little blackmailed into voting for this.
well, I think, again, the CFO and the borough administrator have that level of detail. They have worked, the bond counsel does not dictate anything. We provide her what we want. And you can see the detail that we provided to y'all on Monday was general capital, sewer capital, and beach capital.
No, that was very helpful. I appreciated that, but it totaled 9.8 million.
Right, and I guess the subsequent question, had that question come up with the difference, we could answer, I could have had the CFO contact you on that. He was clear with me, though, that we needed, because I asked the question, do we need to go with the lower number? And he said, no, you need to go with the 11.5, but we've been able to take this down to 9.8. So I think it does have to do with pre-authorization from the Monmouth County group, that's who we worked with because they gave us the most favorable rate.
Okay, so I actually thought when we showed up tonight, after you shared that detail, I thought we were going to change this dollar amount, which I now am told we can. So, Mr. Mayor, when you said, had we asked, I thought you gave us the detail, we were changing it. I guess my question now is, can you just commit to the council that the CFO and the VA will explain this very thoroughly to us within a week?
Absolutely. That's probably within a day.
It would have been helpful to just have had the explanation before being asked to vote on it.
Okay.
Okay, any other comments, questions?
So motion to approve 2024-46. So I have a second.
Second,
Mr. Noble? When I borrow money, the first thing I ask is what's the rate? And I'm not getting the answer and I just don't feel comfortable with this. I just can't say yes, so I'm gonna say no.
Mr. Gubatose?
it's not fair that Ms. Council President DeNoble gets to go first and say no, so the rest of us are in that much tighter a bind here. I totally agree with you, Council President. I'd like to know the rate. I'd like to know why the extra 1.8 million. Only because I appreciate the need to borrow at least 9.8 million. And I'm being told very clearly that I jeopardize all of the borrowing. If I vote no with you, I'm going to vote yes.
Ms. Mahoney?
I'm gonna assume that that it's built in and it's pooled, and I'm also going to assume that the rate is based on the higher number. And I'm hoping that my assumptions are correct. I also feel like we probably have to do this, so I'm going to vote yes and expect an answer. I assume that Ricky can give me, Mr. Gartz can give me an answer tomorrow.
Yep.
So I'm gonna expect that, and I also think that it'll be easy to track this $2 million. So I'm gonna vote yes.
Mr. Weber?
I'm also gonna vote yes, because I'm confident that we're gonna hear from the borough officials as we have been promised and get the information we need, so I vote yes.
Mayor Fox?
Yes.